And looks like I am going back. Yay, hooray, wonderful, thanks YouTube. Actually, it's not even YouTube's fault. It is the internet.
For once, it's not YouTube fucking up.
Although, concurrently, perhaps. I'm so sorry, guys. And especially all of you who were actively engaged, all of you who were participating in the chat, I am so sorry that the internet has decided to be garbage right now. And I want to swear, but I'm still within the first minute of streaming, and I want to see what I can do to try and keep these things monetized as best that I can. Appreciate it. And it's good to see you, Zach, by the way. Yes. But, yeah. So yes, grilled cheese is in fact awesome, and there's gonna be some fun with that. In this particular sense. And let's see. I think that works for a pan. This is about as well as I don't do a lot of background details. I don't know if you knew this. I'm not actually a good artist. I can reasonably pass for one. I try to do my best to do that, but there are a lot of limitations that I find myself running into pretty often. Yes, Miles Morales has a special BLM suit. Just something I found out while the stream was gone. Yeah. There's a lot of... Yeah. Sorry.
I'm gonna object to Miles Morales getting more attention.
Oh, good. The monetization was automatically turned off. Okay, awesome, cool.
Why did we need to make these screens political?
Wow. That is a spicy pan.
Wow.
How about you don't? Alright, so the working zone of the fucking pan. That's a little too small. Alright. There we go. Oh, look at that beautiful pan!
Chef kiss.
Anyway, sorry, it's my fault for calling the pan spicy.
Listen.
Yes. I'm so sorry about that, guys. That pan's making me... Call me pansexual, because that pan's making me act up.
You might want to see someone about that, John.
Personally, I have a thing for satyrs.
I mean...
Griffin is Owen Wilson. I mean...
Well, you're half right.
Sarcasm, I'm bi, not pan. Yeah, and everyone has... There's some overlap between the two, but honestly, it comes down to the individual and how they choose to distinguish it. You know.
Oh, yeah.
I personally identify as biromantic, but that's because the way that I do it is basically I am attracted to different genders in different ways. And that's kind of how I distinguish it from being panromantic. I remember I prefer bicycles. Those are not built for people like me, let me tell you. It's hard for me to really get into riding a bicycle.
Well, depending on how many you buy in Undertale, they can recover a fuck ton of health.
This man.
I think you're being generous calling me a man.
No, you are in fact a man. And all of the legacy that comes with being a white man.
My name is the Neurotic Logician.
My name is the Neurotic Logician.
I still remember your reaction to first hearing that.
Like, because I only ever knew you as someone who had this at least middling to like, you had a very clearly, distinctly, adult male voice. And so you were like, I sound so shrill, I sound so high-pitched, and I was like, you really don't.
To provide a bit of context for this, but by the time Laura and I, finally met, I had a fairly, I suppose, consistently, maybe not lower toned necessarily, but like basically she's known me since my voice has sounded like this, and my voice has not consistently sounded like this until maybe within a year or two of me having met her. And so in my mind, I had this sort of, and I still to an extent have this internal image of myself having this sort of shrill and squeaky sort of nerdy voice. And I even like listening back to like the newest video I released earlier this month, I can still hear a bit of that. But because I have that internal, I guess, auditory image of myself, it's hard for me to picture myself as anything but that whiny, nerdy sounding dude. And so when I would, describe myself as that, around Laura or others, they'd be like, "What are you talking about? You sound like an adult." And then I showed them one of my older videos, and they're like, "Oh." That explains it.
Oh, now I get it.
Oh, you are a motherfucker.
No, well, I mean, you are, but not because of your voice. Your opinions, on the other hand. Now, anyway, so like the stereotypical, not even actually that.
More like Bailey than anything.
Wow. I mean, you ain't
Am
wrong.
I wrong? There you go.
Now, how do I draw things? Audience, how do I draw anything? It'd be nice if I could. Great. I did also want to end up doing something special for Halloween this year, but then Halloween happened and I wasn't ready for it.
We did have the that one stream.
Yeah, and that was what I wanted to do is a song cover that is technically Halloween related. It's Halloween adjacent, but it does say Halloween in it. Unfortunately, and I'm going to be real upfront and honest about this, unfortunately, this year has been so stressful for me that finding the motivation to keep up with basically anything, has been kind of out the window. I have not been able to leave my house effectively outside of going in the car to pick up my medication, which I can't even go inside the building. Step 1, draw. Step 2, draw some more. Yeah, honestly. And then that's how you are. Yeah. So I may as well also be sure to save, because that's going to be kind of important, I think. I now have a workable image that actually looks like something now. So it's like, that's a good point to try and address that. Anyway, I wanted to do a song cover. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to actually get that to manifest. So, okay, 15. Okay. And there we go. Sweet. How do you draw? Pay attention. Pay someone to do it for you. Honestly, that's the thing. I mean, if I were making enough money doing this, if I had enough income actually coming in from the stuff that I was doing, I would absolutely be paying people to do, like, episodes of Ballad of Lorelei and all of that stuff. I would absolutely be happy to pay people for their time, to have their help with making stuff for the channel. As it is, and that's just it. New channels, new-ish channels, quote-unquote. Especially if you're not doing something fandom-related or jumping on some sort of bandwagon. It's really hard to get an audience, and I am grateful for what I have. I actually, after The Other Side has gotten as popular as it has, I've actually finally broken 260 subscribers on Sirenia Studios, which has been sitting at 200 since basically when it launched about a year ago. So, that's 5,000, over 5,000, almost 5,200 at time of speaking, that views on that one video. And, like, I'm going to be going into this on an actual announcement on the channel, but basically I'm putting together a milestone video acknowledging all of this and being like, holy shit, what?
Mm-hmm.
Draw a circle, step 2, draw the rest of the owl. Absolutely. So I'm going to be celebrating this, and I'm even going to say this now. There is actually going to be a giveaway for people who basically come to that video. I'm going to be setting up the actual mechanics for, you know, contacting people and all of that. But there's going to be, I'm looking forward to it. I have some things on the horizon for that. I'm hoping to do something really nice to celebrate the people who have been supporting me and the people, even just the people who came by to watch that one video. Like, they didn't have to click onto that. It was literally a passion project that I ended up turning into an actual video for the channel, and I did not expect anyone to give even one shit, never mind the two about it. And so I am very happy to see it actually come to fruition like this, and it has given my channel a significant boost. So I'm going to be doing what I can to actually, you know, show my appreciation for that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Just trying to draw a stovetop here.
Yeah. I can send you a reference if you want.
Nah, I know my stovetop.
That's fair.
I've been listening to a lot of Hamilton recently.
Yeah.
I think what was really especially poignant for me was I was listening to Yorktown / The World Turned Upside Down when Georgia flipped blue.
I mean...
Hey, Ian, welcome. Good to see you.
God, I mean, there's that quirk of yours at work again.
Yeah. But literally as it was getting to the crescendo into the climax, as it was repeating, the world turned upside down, the world turned upside down, and then building with more and more voices joining in. And then I actually, you know, again, browsing the internet and saw news that Georgia flipped blue. I knew that it was close, but it finally flipped in total. And there's been a lot of relief over the last couple of days as a result of seeing how this election has been starting off in a not great place and then actually escalating to something worth having hope over. I've been optimistic this entire time, but of course there's always going to be that degree of, like, can I trust this? Ironic how you were listening to Yorktown right when you saw Georgia flip blue. Yes. But I love my situational irony. It is something that follows me everywhere.
Literally.
So,
Okay.
You were gonna say, sorry?
I was just gonna say, meanwhile, I've just been listening to a fuck ton of Mystery Skulls.
Yeah, not a surprise.
Yeah, I shouldn't be surprised to anyone who knows me.
Phoenix, I love you, but let me fucking tell you, my life is a series of coincidences. You don't even know. You don't even know how often it happens. It's like, okay, I know that I am sounding like, you know, like I know that it sounds like I might be hamming it up, and maybe that's to a degree. I have genuinely been unsettled. I have genuinely fuck you'd the universe because it keeps doing this shit to me. Coincidences that literally can't be explained by just being coincidences. What?
That's Portland. I see the celebrations are warming their way over from the west side to the east side. At least I can only assume. Let me take a peek out. What the fuck's...
Hey, Chris Checkers, Lara. Hope you are having a good day. I'm having a great day.
Alright, so nothing special, just, traffic as usual.
Yeah, it's Portland. It could be celebration, or it could just be someone getting excited because they saw a road.
I mean...
Or it could be someone getting excited because they found a really cool restaurant. They're like, I haven't eaten there yet.
Yeah, well, nah, it's just Burgerville.
True.
And Burgerville can fuck off.
Haha! Yeah, people were actively protesting against the treatment of its employees.
Yeah.
When I was out there, in fact, for a visit last year.
Yeah. So yeah, fuck Burgerville.
I already heard people sing the line, never gonna be Yep. Never
Yeah,
gonna
plus,
be president now.
Plus, it's over $20 for something you can get for like maybe $5 at Burger King.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit.
Laura's in a Truman Show style reality show the whole time. I mean, I would not be surprised. I honestly, my life for me is very often a testament to the concept of, the concept of the universe actually being a simulation because of all of the mathematical oddities that represent patterns that do not necessarily make sense in utter chaos. So I believe that there is in fact order to the universe, but I can't prove that. I can only theorize based on what other people have suggested might even be the case.
I mean, reality's just kind of fucked, and math sort of indicates as much.
Reality is weird, but yeah, I mean, I can explain things like me and Griffin saying something at the same time. That's because we share at least one brain cell, if not an entire brain.
Bold of you to assume I have more than one.
I know that you have more than one because I have it too.
Well, I guess that would add up to the 2. Just kidding.
I'm going to move on.
You can try.
I'm going to move on. I can try to move on, and I will try. Yeah, sometimes the universe would fuck me now and again. I mean, it constantly is fucking me. But
Yeah.
it's also doing weird coincidences, like me choosing to do certain things at certain times that end up paying off in specific ways. But honestly, the thing is I'm so happy for where we are right now. Like, I know that and this is the other part that I was going to get to. The fight is still ahead of us. This particular battle, so to speak, has been won, but we are going to meet resistance every step of the way going forward. And even when we do purge the stupidity that is currently residing in this administration, in this office, we still have a long way to go to address the healing that this country needs to go through, things that needed to be addressed before now and were not. I just want to pop in and say hi, wish you all a great day, night, and take care of yourselves and each other. Thank you very much, Chris Checkers, Lara.
Much appreciated.
Honestly, I support Trump in his battle against the Count, Muppet or not. He's still a vampire and he's likely killed dozens over the centuries. I don't know. I would favor the vampire because killed dozens versus killed 250,000.
And counting.
And counting. By the day. 100,000 new cases in one day. Not deaths, but 100,000 new cases, new infections.
Mm-hmm.
My brother actually got caught in this, as did his current live-in partner, or at least mother of his child, and that's a weird family dynamic, but it's one that works. It's a family. But my brother did the intelligent thing, and he self-isolated, made sure that the kids were going to be taken care of, and he is likely going to be fine. You know, he doesn't have a lot of the same comorbidities that, say, I have. But the fact that it hits that close, the fact that I know that if my mother gets exposed to it, she's going to die. Like, I know that if I get exposed to it, I am likely going to die, and I will never forgive that this is something that we have to contend with for as long as we have, and for as long as we will still have to contend with in the coming years. But life goes on.
Yeah.
And Trump has killed way more than any fictional vampire might have. And even a vampire, were they to be real, probably was not as bloodthirsty or as deadly as Trump was while in office. So, like, at least the Count tried to teach children something vital.
Yeah.
Honestly, Trump could learn something from him. He does, after all, fit the demographic.
I mean...
People who need to learn how counting works.
Well, then again, I think that's somewhat of an insult to children.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, and seeing Trump supporters saying Biden coming into power will take away our freedom because he'll enforce mask laws. Like,
to be fair, these are also the same people who think Democrats are literal vampires.
I haven't had... Yeah, we're not going to go into QAnon. Family, but I can understand why people are extremely cautious. Yeah, it's worth a risk. Look at the recovery rate. And it's like, the recovery rate versus 250,000 people dead. Imagine if it was everyone in your family. Because that's enough people. Imagine if even if it were just one person in your life that caught this thing and died from it, and you saw people continuing to not only try to downplay the dangers of it, but also insist that it's a hoax. Insist that, you know, there aren't dead bodies that are fucking accumulating, too many to even fucking deal with. To have these people insist so callously that wearing a mask to make sure that the entire populace is given a chance to survive this and to try and minimize the rate of infection, to insist that that measure in itself is something that restricts our freedoms, it's infuriating.
Yeah.
And these people have absolutely no concept of exactly how much damage they're doing. I think that the administration knows how much damage they're doing, and their strategy this entire time, it was called herd immunity, which, like, that's not how it works. And to do it this way requires millions upon millions of people dying. It's not herd immunity on the basis of things like vaccinations, immunizations, and all of that. It is herd immunity based on the idea that we just kill off anyone who's actually susceptible to it.
Like, have these motherfuckers who keep leaning on herd immunity ever heard of mad fucking cow disease?
It's a disgusting attitude to have. And there's also no guarantee that people who survive COVID won't be susceptible to reinfection. In fact, there are a lot of people who have gone on to be reinfected.
Yeah, and even if you aren't necessarily affected by it, you could still be a carrier of it.
Yep.
Shit sucks, man. That's how disease works.
Well, the thing is that, again, it goes to speak to the privilege of these individuals, that because they themselves have not suffered for it, they themselves have not seen family members dying, that they themselves do not see it happening in their lives. So they can say, it's not real, it's a hoax, it's something that's manufactured. Also, just watch the people who were saying, including Trump himself, watch this virus go away the day after elections. Trump tried to claim that the pandemic was over. when it was actually spiking at its highest.
Uh-huh.
All right, take care, Phoenix.
Yes, and mind you, predominantly in the United States. Most other countries have their shit figured out by now.
There are still some spikes that are actually happening, but this is normal. This is literally what we know about pandemics, is that usually it rises fairly early in the year. People get infected, a wave of that actually dies down. Unfortunate wording, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But then it picks up again in, within, I think, a 6-month or so period after the initial infection. Usually the fall of that year ends up being a good, because a lot of people end up going inside for the winter, for the colder months. And so being inside more often means that they bring in a lot of the viruses that they're carrying with them. And so we are seeing a spike, not just in the United States, because we've been kind of dealing with a flood of it, but where it's gotten worse now. But around the world, there are a lot of people who are seeing more lockdown procedures being enacted. Because it is spiking worldwide. At least in most cases. Some places actually have their shit together. Mm-hmm. Take care, Queen. The thing is, this situation is what it... I know, I don't want to say it is what it is. I say it is what it is in the sense of it didn't have to be this way. You know, it's the funniest thing I heard from a Trump supporter on TV. I don't know, Biden seems too old. The painted Oompa Loompa is younger? Like, he's literally been showing signs of not just dementia, but probably being affected by strokes. Never mind, he's probably still dealing with after effects of COVID.
See, I hate where my mind goes because I've heard the exact same arguments in recent years for like Peter Capaldi as the Doctor. And funnier still, because again, timing. By the way, this artist I follow recently just tweeted just thinking about how hot they thought Peter Capaldi was as the Doctor. I'm sorry, I know unrelated, but it's just chain reaction of synapses and all that.
Oh yeah, no, that's, you know as well as I do, that's how the brain works. In fact, you know better than I do on that. But what about the flu? Did we forget about that? Being afraid of the flu during this time is like being afraid of the knife on the Titanic. Here's the thing, yeah, the flu fucking sucks. The flu is also deadly. And you don't want to get exposed to that either. And that's why... You want to know something real funny? You want to know something funny about dealing with the current pandemic by wearing a mask? You know what that also helps to prevent the conveyance of? Every viral infection! If we collectively, as a nation, wore masks every time we caught a virus... Every time that we knew, and obviously COVID in itself is a unique thing because of its long incubation period of time. If we were wearing masks when we get the flu, when we get colds, do you know how much the infection rate would actually go down?
Yeah, the Japanese have figured that shit out. And they're still trying to figure out that pedophilia is a bad idea. Anyway, moving on.
I mean... So are Americans.
Yeah, fair.
But regardless, the fact is, the same techniques that are supposed that will help us with COVID will also help us with the flu. Because the main way of conveyance is through airborne transmission and exposure to things that are leaving our fucking mouth. And
speaking of mouths, fuck you, Zach. Namely for not sharing.
Just ate some jalapeno nacho chicken. Slight regrets. I mean...
Bring it up for the rest of the stream.
Honestly. Although, since spicy was invoked in there, be sure to check out Cybernetic Pink Eye's channel.
For more of that squeaky voice I told you about.
For that, but also, He put out a Halloween special, his usual Saucy Sweeties thing that he does every year on Halloween. Started out as a punishment, but now it's a tradition, and so he put it together with me and also our D&D group. At least those that were able to actually make it.
Yeah, save one of the usual party members.
Couple of them. Yeah. 2 of the regular party members were not able to make it. But we decided to make it a dice roll thing. As if it wasn't entirely Griffin's idea. He decided to make it a dice roll thing where he put together a combination of various sweet things and a combination of various hot sauces, which includes, and feel free to be the dramatic reveal of the number 4 slot.
Oh yes. Well, basically, as Laura mentioned, I brought together an assortment of hot sauces, and each of my friends would roll 1d4, which is a 4-sided die, and the result would be 1 of 4 hot sauces and 1 of 4 sweet things. For the hot sauces, it was Frank's Red Hot, Sriracha, Tapatio, and for anyone who follows the channel known as First We Feast, it was The Last Dab from the interview show Hot Ones, where Sean Evans interviews celebrities, and with each question he asks, the celebrity in question eats a progressively spicier chicken wing. And the last wing is covered in a sauce called The Last Dab, which is the spiciest of the lineup. And so those hot sauces would be paired based on what they roll with either a slice of red velvet cake, a shot of horchata, which is a sweet Mexican rice drink, a miniature Butterfinger candy bar, or a piece of a Voodoo Doll donut from Voodoo Donuts, which is a staple of Portland. Or at least a, touristy one.
Yeah.
And I'll say, even then, it's still fucking good. For all the people who say it's just for tourists, get off your fucking high horse. If you're being a donut snob, you need better things to occupy your time and mind with.
Yeah. Agreed. Screw hot wings. I want to see hot ones with sour candy now. That would be interesting.
I mean, they do occasionally have vegan and vegetarian options for, to accommodate their guests. I've seen them do it with fried cauliflower, so.
Anyway. Yeah. No, it works really well. Go check that out on his channel. It turned out really well. I even love the intro, and I'm not going to spoil how that even goes, because it was just... It was another example of that timing thing that I was telling you guys about before.
Yeah, your superpower definitely shines through in that video. Let's see. I had Voodoo Donut in Cali. Yeah, I believe they have at least one location down in California. But yeah, I think they also have one at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. So yeah, they have in a handful of places. Yeah, cauliflower is good. I agree, Kitty. Or Kitty.
Kitty.
I apologize. Yeah.
Kitea.
Yes.
Anyway, it's worth a watch. We had a lot of fun. Honestly, I feel like Jane made that video.
Oh yeah, Jane being our mutual friend Red is a Tomato, who is also a talented voice actor and singer. You should check out this stuff of all my friends in that video, including Laura, if you aren't already. Which, if you aren't, what are you doing here? But yeah, it was fun to have everyone on board with that. They definitely, and Jane in particular, I will say, had some especially memorable quotes.
Can you in one shot?
I will also be sure to get you an MP3 of those quotes, by the way.
Yes, good. Anyway.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, Zach.
Huh.
I grabbed more nacho chicken to spite Griffin.
Yeah. That tracks.
I get some brunch box after this.
Right after you were saying, I don't know that I can afford to go. I know.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to be ordering something. One, just to celebrate, and two, just 'cause.
Yeah.
I will say what I started to say earlier, and as conversations do, I got a little sidetracked and all of that.
I apologize.
But no, it's not you. I literally did it to myself. There's still going to be a lot to push for going forward. Unfortunately, there is still a huge fight on our hands. There is still much that needs to happen in terms of recovery. We still need to keep pushing for progress. We need to hold our president-elect accountable for the shit that he does, the shit that is part of this country, as much as we don't want to admit it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the unfortunate reality of it. We have to continue going out to the streets. Now, obviously, I do not condone violence in the slightest, and I don't really like the destruction of physical property. But when the alternative is injuring and killing United States citizens, I can't blame people for sending a message.
I mean, again, Whitey broke the contract.
So, it's not a great position to be in, but we do need to keep putting the pressure on. We do need to keep petitioning. We do need to keep informing. We do need to continue to listen to Black voices. We need to start looking at how we can evolve as a culture to better suit both ourselves and the wider community. The things that we can do individually to make things better for the whole. And I have hope that we can absolutely do that. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy to do that. And I think that we're going to be seeing more conflict. I think that we are going to be seeing more tension. We are going to see the fallout of the Trump cult. So, among other things, especially if you are in the U.S., stay safe.
Mm-hmm.
Be sure to be cautious. There are people who have been motivated to do harm. And I don't want any of you to put yourselves in positions where that could come down on you.
Yeah.
I say all of that to say it is still our responsibility to take action where we can. I said it before, but my main contribution in that regard is going to have to be, sharing my opinion repeatedly and hopefully sharing my hope and my optimism that things are going to get better from here on out. All of the 2020 disasters, I didn't think Civil War II was a possibility. Well, World War III was a possibility early on this year.
Early on.
But then it ended up getting kind of swallowed in the whole pandemic nonsense. So, we came very close to that. And this was after Australia started off the year on fire. Good thing we took that over here, apparently.
Yeah, well, it's nothing new for California, I'll say.
There was Trump actually okaying a military action that could have easily set off World War III. And that would have been bad. Fortunately, it didn't happen, but I'm pretty sure that literally only didn't happen because people were starting to get infected with COVID.
Yeah?
That kind of ended up being the ultimate, okay, we'll have to address World War III later. We're kind of, in a deadly pandemic now.
Yeah,
we should probably
and
address that.
My knowledge of the details regarding the Geneva Convention are admittedly somewhat sketchy, but I do believe biological warfare is in fact off the table.
Generally speaking, yes. Actually, a lot of the things that the U.S. military and the police force have been doing to United States citizens is going against the Geneva Convention. Unfortunately,
including what's been going on in Portland.
especially what's been going on in Portland. But I say that with a level of eye rolling because, unfortunately, the classification of falling into Geneva Convention atrocities and actually breaking that, it requires there to be an actual war having been declared. And unfortunately, when it's against your own citizens, they don't consider that to be a Geneva Convention violation.
How convenient.
But that said, I think we can make the case that we had an external force exerting violence on the population of this country. Unfortunately, the external force was from the likes of Trump ordering people and cultivating things. Hey, Peyton, my father just drilled through our house's fiber optic internet line, and now I don't get wired internet until this coming Tuesday. I hope I'm having a fucking great day.
I mean, internet blips aside.
I'm having a fucking great day. I actually am. Like, there's really not much. I will say, so here's a little bit of news that ended up kind of squeaking under the whole commotion about everything else. But BioWare finally announced a remaster of the original Mass Effect trilogy. It looks like they put a lot of detail into making it actually something worth potentially repurchasing. I say that as someone who has varying interest in the subject. I'm going to wait and see until we have more news on that before I actually follow through and see about maybe getting myself a copy. By accident, of course, he didn't do it on purpose, just to make it clear. Oh, yeah, no, I know how that goes. I lived with a man, well, I lived with a man who was involved with my mother, and still is, unfortunately, who would sit on the internet. I mean, we didn't have cable internet at the time, it was the modem, but he would sit there and he would download all sorts of stupid shit, including porn, on the family computer that I also used. Fortunately, I mean, couple of things. I didn't end up seeing it because he did mostly store it elsewhere until I kind of ended up discovering that he had these files on the fucking computer. But then he would mock me for getting online and having a social life online. He would say things along the lines of like, well, I have important things to do online. I'm not just playing stupid games. I'm like...
That type of individual.
Yeah, the type of individual who would trip over a phone line and then yell at me because he can't pick his feet up. Like, he has to shuffle walk everywhere. And maybe it's a physical limitation on his part. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think he has the intelligence to pick his feet up. And I say that, like, I know that this is shit-talking, but it's shit-talking a man y'all will probably never know.
Well, again, shit-talking is also something that isn't exactly new on this channel.
True. But all their kids in the 90s just used 2 phone lines. No. We had the one.
Yeah. You were fucking really well off if you had 2.
Yeah, if you had 2 phone lines, then you were fucking rich. No, in the 90s, you had 1 phone line, and if you went online, you just didn't get phone calls for that period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, up through, like, we had the transition in the late 90s, early aughts, but, like, that still carried on. There are still places in this country that still rely on dial-up modem in order to connect to the internet.
Yeah.
It's not as widespread as it once been. One of the best news from this year's N7 Day, not to mention there's new Emmy game in the works. Yeah, I imagine that they wanted to move on from what happened with Andromeda. Like, conflicting opinions about the quality of the game aside, I can imagine that they kind of want to put that fiasco behind them.
Understandable.
Regardless of whether it's the fault of people who trashed it, whether it's the fault of, internal meddling, intra-office bullshit, whether it's the result of the press reporting on it in an unfavorable way, whether it's the result of, any number of things that went wrong with it. I can understand wanting to close that chapter because it was kind of a financial nightmare.
I mean, yeah.
And it was not handled the way that it deserved to be handled. Regardless of anything else. I am curious to see what they're doing for that, just as I am curious to see how Dragon Age 4 turns out now that they've actually officially announced it. But we kind of been new about it for a while. But yeah, it's admittedly hard. I care about BioWare. Like, I would not have the channel that I do now without BioWare. I would not have some of the friends that I have now without the fact that I played BioWare games. Those games are still important to me. Like, I do still intend to go back to Dragon Age Origins at some point. I do want to finish out that playthrough. It's one of those things that it's hard to do live on a stream because it's a story-centric game.
Yeah.
Ultra Baller Kids used both phone lines and used an internet modem splicer to double the theoretical dial-up bandwidth. That's what my grandfather did in the 90s instead of just getting DLC. But we are in a unique position, right? So, okay, just finish my thoughts on BioWare. I want to see it succeed, and I want to have faith in it again, and I believe that we will, in fact, have good reason to believe in them. I do see them putting the effort to not to fall into the same traps that EA actually laid out for them. I unfortunately see signs of continued EA meddling.
Yeah.
But there's not much that can be done about that because they own the company. So, they're trying, though, and I do think that at the core, the actual developer wants to put out good games that we can all enjoy. And if they're allowed to play to their strengths, which is single-player campaigns of story-rich things that don't... and for me, no open-world exploration shit. That's just me. Other people can enjoy that. I do not. That's just my personal thing, though. If they can focus on what they do well, then they can continue to make good games. EA is not interested in making good games.
They're really not. I mean, the video game industry at this point isn't even interested in making games. They're interested in making Bitcoin machines and what's the fucking term that constantly comes up? Live services. That's it.
Yeah, live services.
Live services!
Thank you, Jim Sterling.
Yes. Go subscribe to Jim Sterling.
Honestly, like, he's a controversial person because he calls himself the Cassandra of video games, but, like, it's because everything that he calls is true. It inevitably happens. Everything that he says the industry is going to do, it does. And when it happens, he does a lot of I told you so's. But people are still like, oh, well, that's just how it's supposed to be. And he's like, no! No, that's not how it's supposed to be. He is so fed up. Sorry, I keep saying he, but I believe...
I believe he's, or they are gender fluid at this point.
Gender fluid, or I believe the official announcement was gender trash. But is he more controversial than the Don? Thank you, Peyton. EA be more like, we've got to have money. Live services, EA are only interested in surprise mechanics. Yeah, honestly, that they obviously clearly abandoned that pretty damn quick when they were called out for how stupid that was. And no one was fooled by it. No one. Absolutely fucking no one. But yeah, I want to play future BioWare games that I enjoy and that I have fun with. I hope, beyond hope, that things start to improve. Never really watched you before, but I see what I think is grilled cheese and am interested. Hi, Lanny Beep Boop. Or Lonnie Beep Boop. It's good to hear from you. Yes, grilled cheese is in fact what's on screen right now, and you should be interested. I'm actually working on the art for what's going to be going up on my other channel, Sirenia Studios, a new episode of The Ballad of Lorelei. If you've never watched my stuff before, go ahead and check it out. I do usually have it linked in the description of videos like this. All of my videos, in fact, at this point, should have it. Or at least the newer ones after a certain point. But yes, I released Sirenia Studios, and if you go over to that channel, you will see all of my original content, as well as things like song covers, basically anything that's not gaming content. Which is ironic that I am streaming art for that channel on my gaming channel, and I put that in quotation marks. I can't draw this one fucking line. I'm so tired. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna save it. I simmed $2 after 5 minutes. Hell. Oh my god. But yes, this one panel, and of course, obviously, I've been distracted by chatting, but to give you an idea of how much work actually does end up going into each of these releases, this stream is an example of the painstaking process. The painstaking process! That was a sound I just made. But if you aren't subscribed to Sirenia Studios, please. I mean, honestly, I always promote it. I'm always very quick to say, hey, go check out the videos, because again, that's my original content. I am hoping that it will, take off. I say original, but the biggest thing on my channel right now are song covers, and especially the other side cover that I did. And there's going to be more of those coming out in the future.
Yeah.
But you also have the series The Ballad of Lorelei, which is kind of a self-insert thing, but it's complicated because it's a very fictionalized version. At this point, that Lorelei is mostly like me in terms of personality, and there's some overlap, but she's really not actually me, much like the Logician is not actually Griffin, but a manifestation of his psyche in some degree.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for subscribing. I mean,
hell yeah.
Again, I hope that you enjoy the content that's there. That's kind of my thing, is that I do actually hope that it's worth going out to that channel, watching, subscribing, and all of that stuff. I mean, the usual stuff that everyone goes through with the like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, etc. I know that I do that usually every stream. It's because it apparently works. I haven't seen much of that as of yet. But then again, I haven't exactly done a lot that draws a lot of attention to my channel in the first place. Haters be like, all you gotta do is draw lines. Easy. Thank you again, Peyton. And good night, Ragnar. Good night, everybody, and have a good rest of the day, says Ragnar.
Take care.
Thank you so much for coming by and cute art style on the channel. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have my own doubts about my art, but I also have doubts about my singing, and apparently people don't believe me about that. That fucking
Keep my
chime.
mouth shut, because we've already had that discussion.
Yeah, and you also keep insulting yourself, and it's illegal.
Yeah, it's amazing how artists are their own worst critics.
It's because we can actually see or hear exactly what we get wrong. It only takes a few minutes. I have been going through Reddit recently, the choosing beggars. Look, it's not bad. It's individual subreddits that can be the problem, but as a whole, it's not any worse than any other social media, really.
That's fair.
But I've been following the subreddit Choosing Beggars, and I was kind of going through a bunch of those, and of course it's very consistent of, why are you charging money for this? Like, it's what you just do. Like, you don't need to get money for this. I mean, you have a job, so, you know, that's your income. I don't get why you have to charge for this. And it's like, because it's time and skill that you want badly enough to try and pressure someone into dedicating their time and energy and skill to making something for you. Some folks be entitled like that. And it's kind of fucking hilarious, but yes, art is not an easy thing. Some people can churn it out in seconds. I am not some people. I really wish that I could draw a curved line that didn't look like shit. But yes, this is going to be the first panel in another short episode, similar to the last one that was most recently uploaded to the channel. It's going to be in those veins. Left and not artist. I'm impressed by anything. Not gonna... Honestly, like, I think that a lot of us who are still kind of, like, insecure about our art ability kind of forget that there are a lot of people who may not necessarily have the same experience, who may not have the same, like, years and years that it takes to get to the point that, you know, you're at, no matter what. No matter where you are at. You're still going to have someone who's looking at you and envying what you can do. And so, I don't like my art that much, but it's serviceable enough that other people have literally paid me for it, so, like, shrug, I guess. But a lot of people can do a lot of things with their art. A lot of folks can do amazing things. Legit, like, it's been a privilege for me to work with a lot of creative people over the years. And to see them through their creative process, getting shit done. It's, like I said, it's a privilege to be able to see that internal process, to see, you know, what... how it's made, how it's done.
Today on How It's Made, mistakes.
Well, I don't need a lecture for that.
We're both experts in the field, aren't we?
I guess so. Anyway, now I say all of that. I want to try and get at least the lines done for this, but because of the day that I've had, because I've only had about 4 hours of sleep, but again, I'm not going to regret being up to celebrate the news about Biden winning the presidency over here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in a position where I also need to get food at some point, because especially as a diabetic, it's good if I don't neglect actually getting food.
I mean...
Because that's a fun position to be in, you know? But, I'm probably going to be calling it here. Roughly, like I said, literally on the last line of this. Getting the line art done. I say the last line as I repeat it 50 billion fucking times. Can clean up the edge. Food and sleep are both good. I'm probably still going to be up for some time after this, although it's hard to say exactly how long that's gonna be, actually. But I am gonna see what I can do to get myself some food so that I'm not dealing with headaches and nausea and shit like that I actually do kind of feel coming on right now. So
yeah,
that's like I said, that's kind of my sign that I need to back off for the night. So now you've seen the initial process of putting together. See, I'm better at drawing, like, people than I am inanimate objects. But again, with art, with episodes, with sequential art, you need to establish the scene. And it's going to be very important that grilled cheese is being made.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to thank you all for coming out today. I know that today was a lot of heavy political conversation. Today was a lot of celebration and a lot of frustration. I know that today has been interesting. And I know that I didn't make exactly what you would call a lot of progress. I got the line art for the first panel of a multi-panel sequential episode of Ballad of Lorelei, which they all are. And I still have a lot of work to do, but maybe this gives you an idea of what I do end up actually putting into this, what I try to put into this. That all said, as I usually do, I want to thank everyone for coming by to watch. Literally, this has been the most active the chat has been in a long time, and so I really actually appreciate that. It's really nice to get the feedback from folks as we go and chat and chill and all of that stuff. I always love feedback. Like, I don't always reply to people in comments, but literally I read every last one. Oh, thank you, Lanny. Or Lonnie.
Yeah.
I apologize for getting that wrong if I do. Alrighty, good night. Thank you for being an epic artist. I'm not an epic artist, but, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you especially to Peyton for showing up today and your donations, your super chats through YouTube. Thank you again, Shakarian, for your coffee donation. I actually really appreciate that quite a bit. Especially right now, because finances are going to be tight because of paying a medical bill that I did not anticipate. But, that's something that I'm going to need to work on. But that's why these little, I say little, but these actual monetary things being shoved in my face actually do make a huge difference.
Yeah.
My name confuses myself too. I mean, yeah, I am at the point where I don't respond to my given name as quickly as I do my internet name, and that's saying something. Anyway, thank goodness that we are able to celebrate, at least for now, a win in terms of the presidential election. We are going to see how things go from here on out. Stay safe, everyone. Genuinely, be careful. Don't put yourself out on the streets alone. Make sure that you've got people with you.
Absolutely.
Be sure to watch out for other people in your life. Stay masked, stay in isolation as much as you can, because unfortunately we are experiencing a spike in the pandemic. But obviously, all of my concerns aside, I do hope that you're able to enjoy the rest of this weekend. Because I know that I'm going to have a good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to be riding the high of this. Like, I was literally crying. And the thing that got me was when I saw those videos of New York leaning out their windows and clanging and shouting and celebrating. That got to me.
I mean, I don't think I heard, and I know a lot of people have already made this comparison, but I don't think I heard a reception like that since 2008.
And it tells you the kind of relief that we are collectively experiencing.
Yep.
So, today has been a good day. We'll see where things go. Be prepared for the worst, but also, don't be ashamed of celebrating. Just a little, It's okay to celebrate.
Yeah, just do so responsibly.
Obviously. Thank you, Griffin, for joining as a co-host today. It usually helps me a lot to have someone adding co-commentary to these things, especially when I'm doing something like drawing.
Yeah, again, it is always a pleasure.
And, I appreciate the support in all forms that it comes in, whether it's comments and especially the patrons. I mean, like, again, today's stream was literally decided by patrons. Speaking of patrons, Peyton, thank you for that last super chat there.
Yeah.
I'm very happy, and I'm looking forward to getting some more content out, because I've been feeling a little bit more motivation, a little bit more momentum to be able to continue moving forward with stuff that I want to do. $5 holla. You're a champ, Peyton.
Hell yeah.
So trying to gather my thoughts. Honestly, I keep trying to say goodnight, but I have more to say because it's me. I always have more to say.
Well, there's always Twitter.
Peyton! Peyton, that's illegal!
Watch out.
Okay,
watch
but
out,
now
Skeeto. Someone's coming for your record.
Okay, but Skeeto literally could not. He literally bypassed the limit of $500 per day for an individual by logging into a secondary account to add more money.
God, that did happen, didn't it?
It
just goes to show how much people appreciate you.
And yeah, that's true. Shakira makes a good point. I stream every week, usually on Saturdays, starting at 5 p.m. usually, CST Central Time Zone, which is 6 Eastern. Thank you for the $15 holla, Peyton. That is very much appreciated. So 15 in total, $10 on top of the 5 that were already shoved in my face. It really does help me. Thank you.
Yeah.
It really does. Like, every bit counts. But even things like liking my videos, comments on them, all of that stuff. It does tell YouTube that people like my stuff. But that said, I still also need to get more stuff out, so I'm not going to complain on that front. Anyway, so I will hopefully see you guys next week. It will hopefully be not as contentious a week as it could be. And depending on how my health is in the next week or so, I'm hoping to be able to continue the trend. But in the meantime, take care, everyone. Thank you again, Griffin.
Of course. And I hope you all have a happy United States of Smash.
You are epic. Thank you. Anyway, I will hopefully see you guys next week.
Take care, everyone.
What? Peyton! Peyton! No!
Well,
Peyton!
you can definitely afford to get some food now, can't you?
I mean, I will say that the way that YouTube does stuff is that, like, I have to reach a certain threshold of $100 before they actually pay that out. But again, every time this happens, it edges that closer to happening. So, thank you. Last second $20 in total Peyton nonsense. I mean, thank you. But, like, literally the last second, I had my cursor hanging out over the stop streaming button on OBS, and then you had to go and do that. Peyton, you are illegal. But thank you.
Keep saying goodbye. See what happens.
I'm gonna cry. I love looking at the super chats accumulating at the top here. The $10 and the $5 and the $5 are all just still showing up there as I'm trying to end the stream. Thank you, Peyton. I am going to stop streaming because I need to do other things, but thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who came by to watch today. I do appreciate that very, very much. I've already had this speech. Good night, everyone!
Good night.
No! No! I'm done! Goodbye!